Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Kogan. Drip.
Snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go. Okay. And by the way, I will shout out contributions as they come in, just so you guys know. Right now I'm focusing on the suggestion box, which is why I'm not really responding or saying anything to any contributions, but I will in a minute. Okay. Suggestion number 3, review copies, chase them. Your audience is big enough, most publishers aren't picky. It's a good way to broaden your gaming horizons. There's more stakes involved when someone is providing a copy specifically for your opinion. Just be more open about games you might want to look at and will bring actual variety. All right, I know exactly how the review copy system works because I know people in the system. I know people who've explained it to me over the years. And there's a particular reason why I don't involve myself in that system, okay? If I had review copies of games, all right, it's a good thing. Here, let's address the actual pros and cons of review copies, shall we? Let's do that. That's actually a good thing we should do, okay? So, first of all, how do review copies work? What happens is you need to contact, usually not the company that makes the game, but typically there are these third-party PR or marketing firms that are actually hired by major publishers and the like to promote games. So what you need to do is get onto their mailing lists, and you need to be a part of them. And then as new games are coming out, you contact them and let them know, hey, just so you know, I'm a content creator, and here's my channel, and here's my reach, and I'm interested in playing your game, and here's why. And you can do all that stuff. Basically, you put your name out there, and you got to schmooze a little bit, okay? Typically, if you are a content creator that brings in a certain amount of views a month, you can get review copies of a lot of different games. Not every game. And by the way, no, they're not going to send you collector's editions of every game or whatever, but usually you can get some review copies of games, all right? Likely, and I'm not exaggerating here, probably in a given year, of all the games that I play and buy, probably, I'm not kidding, half I could get review copies of, if I became a schmoozer in the industry. But what does that mean exactly? I'll tell you exactly what that means. If you want to be a schmoozer in the industry, you have to watch what you say. You have to walk on eggshells. You actually have to censor yourself. Okay? Allow me to give you some examples. Let's say I'm playing a review copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And right now I'm playing it, and it lags up. And because of that, I lose a match. And we even watch the kill cam. And it shows on the kill cam that even though on my end, I shot the guy 5 times and then I died instantly, and then we watch the kill cam, and the kill cam says, oh, you never fired your weapon. He shot you instead. I have to bite my tongue and say, well, that's unfortunate. Because if I'm honest, right, and this is a review copy of that game, and I say, what the fuck is that bullshit? You can clearly see on the kill cam, that's not what happened on my side. That's a horrible latency issue. That netcode is shit, and these game developers really did a poor job this year. You can't say that if you get a review copy of a game. You just can't. Because once you do that, you get flagged. You get flagged as someone who is a person that you don't want to be giving freebie stuff to, because this person could make your game look bad. Now, did I make the game look bad? No, they did. They made the game. They're the ones that made the game laggy as shit, not me. But because I'm telling the truth, okay, sadly, I am now going to get into a situation where I get flagged, all right? And you might say, well, that's ridiculous. So you can never criticize a game? No, that's not what I'm saying. You absolutely can criticize a game. You can even get a review copy of a game and review it negatively, and that's fine. But you have to be, how do I say, PC about it. You have to basically not be mean. You have to tiptoe around. You do. Because if you are an honest person who gets emotional, like I tend to do, in the heat of the moment, I'll yell at a game or I'll whatever. They don't like that, all right? They want you to be Mr. or Mrs. PC. They want you to be completely, oh, you're not going to swear at the game. You're never going to say a negative word about the management or the game developers. You're never going to criticize the netcode. You're never going to do, all you're going to say is, oh, I didn't like that part. You have to be so blah, all right? Take a look at the people who regularly are getting free copies of games and watch their playthroughs and watch how blah they are. Watch how they bite their tongues when it comes to a part of the game that they really want to criticize, and you can tell they can't. I've seen it firsthand because my wife and I watch other content creators, and a lot of them are getting these review copies, and then they have to bite their tongues when they talk and play. Who the hell wants to do that? For what? So I don't have to pay $60, $70 to get the game, but now I can't be me? Now I have to be PC, Phil, and censor myself and not be honest about my opinions about the game because they're going to get pissy if I say something that they don't like, right? That's number one. That's the number one reason I don't do review copies is that. The number two reason I don't do review copies is because of review embargoes, all right? So review embargoes are bullshit. What they'll do is they'll send you a copy a week or two ahead of time, but then they'll say, you're not allowed to stream or put this game out until the day before, right? What that means is that if they allow you to actually do any content, you can't give your opinion. There's actually been cases where content creators are given a copy of a game early, and you can stream it, but you cannot criticize it. Because if you do, you've broken the review embargo. Wait, what? So you want me to stream a game early to give you free promotion, essentially giving you free publicity for this game, but I'm not allowed to say a word about how I feel about it. Right. Well, by the way, if you kiss the game's butt, that's okay. We're not going to care. But if you say something negative, you broke the review embargo. Huh? This has happened. I remember years ago, this was one of the big arguments I got into about this was, what was the zombie survival game? State of Decay 2. So State of Decay 2 contacted these big YouTubers and Twitch streamers and gave them copies of the game early. They played it a week early. And then when people were watching their streams, were actually like tweeting them, well, why aren't you telling us what you actually think about the game? Oh, because there's a review embargo. I can't do that. So you can stream the game and give them free promotion so everyone thinks the game's good because you can't say it's not. But, I mean, what is that bullshit? Right? I don't play that game at all. So if I got early copies of the game, I wouldn't even play it early. I'd only be playing it once the game's out anyway because I'm not going to play the review embargo bullshit game like a lot of these fucking people do. I think it's horseshit. I'm not going to give you free promotion for your game when I don't even know if it's good just because you gave me an early copy. That's ridiculous. Okay? So that's just two of the reasons. There's many more reasons. You know, I've talked about, excuse me, the fact that, I hate to say it, but there is this very elitist grouping where these game publishers particularly will whitelist their favorite content creators because of the whole review copy system. And they'll give them exclusive access. They'll do this, they'll do that. Because of the whole review copy system, all right, what ended up happening was when I started on YouTube, there was none. No content creators, no YouTubers got games early at all. Zero. So what would happen is, basically, you would have to go out and buy the game just like everyone else. You'd play it at the same time as everyone else. You'd make content on the game the same time as everyone else. So if you were a hard worker who would run out to buy the game at midnight and you come home and immediately start playing the game and get those videos up on YouTube or get that live stream going, you'd be rewarded for your hard work. You understand? And you could be honest and you could say whatever you wanted about the game because you bought it. So if the game sucked, you'd be the first person to say it sucked. If the game was great, you'd be the first person to say it's great. And that was what I prided myself on. I was one of the hardest workers on YouTube to run out and be the first to get that playthrough on the internet. And that's what got me a lot of my notoriety and views over 10, 15 years ago. That's what I was known for on YouTube. DSP Gaming, the channel where you get that day one playthrough and everyone figures out if the game's good and then they could go out and get it out for themselves or skip it if they think it looks like shit, depending on what Phil thought, right? That went away with the review copy system because now what happens is these publishers handpick the most PC gamers out there to receive copies of their game first. They're allowed to stream and put playthroughs of the game up early So their playthroughs become the only opinions people hear before the game comes out. Therefore, of course, those people are going to say the games are good, so they will continue to receive early copies in the future. It's an endless cycle of butt kissing. You're the biggest butt kisser who's PC. You keep getting the games. You keep kissing the games, the butts of the games, so you keep getting more games. So you get day one views, early views, before day one views. You get all this money because you play the games early. And it's this endless cycle that should not be allowed, and it's elitist, and it's bullshit. And it endlessly does it over and over and over. It just never ends, okay? And I don't support that cycle. I'm an adamant critic of that cycle. I don't think that we need review copies at all. I think that anyone who wants a game copy should go out and buy it just like everyone else. And, you know, you get your opinion out there on the internet just like everyone else. No one should be some specially selected golden snowflake who gets their opinion that stands above everyone else's because they were selected by the publisher to play it first. That's horseshit. And, you know, you can't stop it because that's the industry. Just like any other industry. Movies, TV, music, they do that, and now games does it. And this is what happens when you believe people who are talking head bullshitters who are PC fucking actors. Instead of actually trusting people who are genuine, people sadly started just believing anyone who got the games first. So now, that's the industry we have. You get a bunch of fake people who are basically paid shills. And I say paid, and when I say that, I mean they're not being directly paid to say good things about the game, but because they have this cycle where they get the game early, they get to play it early, they make tons of money playing it early and kissing its butt, they are getting paid. Just not by the publisher, but through early access to that game, they're making money early, and because of that, that cycle will never end. It's an unbreakable cycle of bullshit now. I don't believe in that system, nor do I support anyone who actively goes out of their way to constantly get early review copies so that they can break the game to the internet and make tons of money on early views. It's bullshit. It's an unfair practice, first of all. It shouldn't be allowed. And it's completely immoral. It's completely dishonest. Because you know, even if you could say, well, I trust that content creator to be honest. Well, guess what? They have incentive to be positive. Do you not understand that? They literally have incentive to say the game is better than it is because that continuously supports them and their content and their business. So even if you trust them, they're not trustworthy. It doesn't matter. They will always have that feeling of if I say the game's better than it is, I'll likely get more stuff from this publisher later and therefore I make more money. And that will never go away. You know? And so I could be a part of it. I could literally be a part of that vicious cycle of promotion and dishonesty and positive gain for this channel and my business. And I refuse. I could have done it years ago. When this was becoming a huge thing, I had friends in the industry, people who were games journalists and other things, and they said, so here's how you do it, and we want you to do it. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't look right. And they actually couldn't understand. They were like, what? Why on earth wouldn't you want to do that? This is what everyone else is starting to do now. I said, I'm not going to do it. It goes completely against the moment that I started recording and putting videos up on YouTube was that I wanted to give my honest, silly, but honest improv commentary on what was going on in the game. And if I think the game sucks, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to kiss ass. And I'm not going to artificially censor what I'm going to say because of personal gain. Well, you have to play the game and then you'll get all the games for free early. No, I refuse. A lot of people don't get that. It's the same thing when I turn down $50,000 to be on a podcast I don't stand for. Okay? It's the same premise. It's the same thing that I refuse to have advertisements for products and paid product placements and paid promotions on my streams. There's a reason for that. Because I stand for something different than most other content creators. I refuse to play their game. Am I suffering for that? Yeah, I am. I know that I could be bigger. I could be in the industry and be buddy-buddy with game journalists and game publishers. I know that I could be much bigger than I am. Why do you think I've been around for 15 years and I'm still where I am? Because I've chosen to stay here because I want to be honest and be okay with myself. I can sleep at night knowing that the content I put out is not a paid advertisement, and I'm okay with that. Get it? Okay. So there you go. That's why I don't do the review copy things. I could easily be a part of that. Easily. It's not hard at all. All you need to do is put in the legwork, and you need to schmooze. And I'm not doing the schmoozing. I refuse. And if you don't like that, that's fine. You don't have to understand it, but understand that that's why I am where I am, you know? That's why when a new game is coming out and sometimes things are tight, I have to ask for some help. That's why right now, like, people were like, will you play Baldur's Gate 3? And I was like, right now, I can't afford it. Like, I literally have bills I need to pay in the next week before I get paid by YouTube this month. I can't drop $77 right now on a video game. I can't. I can't afford it. And then someone said, well, I'll donate Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, then I'll play it on Monday. I'm down for that. Sounds good to me. You know, but that's the reality. And that's the difference between being someone who's true and honest and loyal to their viewer base and never going to sell out versus someone who literally will just kiss ass so they never have to be in that situation. Well, I'm not going to kiss ass. Sorry. I'll be honest about everything I do, and I'll be the man on the island sitting alone doing my content for the audience that wants it. I don't have to be in that big schmoozing industry. You know, it's kind of like there's the group who's an in-group at the Oscars, and all the actors are schmoozing, and all the directors are schmoozing. But then you got people who still like to make movies, but they don't want to be a part of that shit. So they're over here by themselves. Did they get invited to the Oscars? Fuck no. But they don't care. Because at least they still get to make stuff that they like, and they have a viewer base for it. So who cares if they're rewarded or recognized or not? You know, right now, are you not aware, there's people on YouTube having YouTube anniversaries, and YouTube Gaming posts up on social media the anniversary of this gaming channel, this gaming channel. Do you think they ever have posted an anniversary for me? No, because I'm not a schmoozer. If I was a schmoozer in the industry and I was buddy-buddy with the publishers and buddy-buddy with the journalists, they'd be posting up my anniversary too. But they're not going to because they don't like me. They don't like honesty. They want butt kissing. They're never going to get it from me. Okay. Let's see here. Purge your podcast. Once a week for your podcast is enough. I really see how daily news segments are scratching the bottom of the barrel. We don't even do daily news segments. You provide your schedule everywhere. Don't keep reiterating it. Game more, talk less. Well, this is hilarious to me. Just look, we're 3 days into this week, correct? What have we done so far? We had an entire day talking about the Game Awards. The whole podcast was about the Game Awards. If I didn't do a podcast that day, literally all the gameplay I did on Friday would have been bombarded with questions about the Game Awards, and we never would have been able to make any progress. Right? Yesterday was an open Q&A day. Arguably yesterday, if there was going to be a day when we could have skipped the podcast, it would have been yesterday. Okay, fair enough. Today we're doing suggestions from the suggestion box. If I didn't do the podcast, we literally wouldn't be reading your suggestion right now and responding to it. So just the very fact that I'm reading your suggestion and responding to it shows you how wrong your suggestion is. There used to be times when I did not do this podcast, all right? And basically, that's exactly what happened is I would turn the stream on and I would start to talk with my audience, and we'd do it for like maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, and then we would jump into gameplay. Everyone, oh, here's a question here, question here, question. It would be all derailed. How do you play a narrative-based game, right, if it's just constant questions being thrown at you? What about today? Today I'm doing a React stream. There's not even opportunity for me to answer questions on the React stream because I'm reacting to clips. It's not a gameplay stream. So how would I even answer anyone's questions or have any social interaction with my audience if I got rid of the podcast, right? Well, everyone wants something different. This person particularly just doesn't like the podcast. They just like my gameplay. Then watch the gameplay. There's tons of it, right? In a given day, there's 5 or more hours of gameplay that I put out on DSP Gaming. That's not enough for you? You want even more than that. 5 hours a day of something for free isn't enough for you, apparently. Tell me another entertainment medium that will provide you with 5 hours of free content in every day, right? Without fail, on a schedule that I'm adhered to. I'm one of the most prolific, dependable guys on the internet. But that's not good enough. Now you also want me to cancel my talk show that I like doing every day, which has meaning, right? The funny part about it is, well, we don't need to know your schedule. Well, if we didn't have these discussions, I wouldn't be playing Baldur's Gate 3 on tomorrow, because this came from us talking and determining what would come next and having this discussion on the podcast. And then we determine Baldur's Gate 3 on Monday. So if I had no podcast, no Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Are you okay with that? Do you see what I'm saying? But that's the thing. What you want to do is focus in on this little thing. Oh, well, you just have news segments that aren't very good. Well, yeah, we do them every once in a while. And usually there's interesting news to talk about 2 or 3 times a week, maybe not. But we always have something to do on the show. Every once in a while, it's nice to just have a show without a direction. And then we ended up having a good show that's just chill, right? But this show has actually allowed me to have some relevance outside of the realm of just playing video games. Do you understand that? Like, because I do a talk show every day, we can talk about topics, we can talk about news, we can talk about games in general, we can talk about the TGAs, we can do all this stuff, and people don't have to sit there and watch part 37 of a random playthrough to hear my thoughts about the TGAs, right? People don't have to spam me with tagged comments in the chat when I'm trying to play RoboCop to say, hey, play Baldur's Gate 3, because we had a discussion about it and determined we would do it on the podcast. Again, I don't know how many times I have to explain, but what I think the problem is that we have a culture on the internet of people who are very demanding and want instant gratification for what it is that they want, right? So in this case, I really feel like this is a person who really enjoys the gameplay, and I appreciate the suggestions here, but they just don't like the talk portions. Then don't watch the talk portions. You don't have to. It's 2 hours a day that I do this show, right? Hour and a half. Then there's 5+ hours of gameplay. So watch the gameplay. No one's forcing you to watch the show. Does it really bother you that much that I do a talk show every day? Really? And by the way, again, are you liking the fact that I'm going to play Baldur's Gate 3? Because if you are, it's the talk show is the reason I'm doing that. You understand that? You just can't convince some people. Some people are just not happy no matter what you do. They just always want it their way. Well, I specifically like everything here. I absolutely don't like this. So you better give me this immediately and not give me... You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, you can't win in that situation. I'm not going to be able to cater to every single person, right? I'm not. So, you know, sorry that I can't. But I'll do my best to try to at least do variety content. The other thing is about this show, and I actually said this when I started it. The real reason that this show started is diversification. I'm getting older. Okay? I'm getting older, and as I get older, I'm not going to be able to do full-time gaming anymore. I know that. As I get I'm actually shocked. Absolutely shocked that this year I was able to play Street Fighter 6 at the capacity that I've played it. Because I'm 41 years old. I told you, I have carpal tunnel that is actually starting to build in this hand. When I go like this, when I reach this point, this hand is nice and this hand is tight. I have carpal tunnel and it's getting worse. And why do you think I was using this right here today? Because it's just going to get worse and worse the older I get. Eventually, in the next 10 years, I'm probably going to have to reduce the amount of games I play. I'm not going to be able to play as much. When I was playing with certain characters like Chun-Li and Aki in Street Fighter 6, I can't even play with them. My hand hurts because there's so much, you know, you have to do stance changes and shit. I can't do it. You know, I'm shocked that I'm able to do it at the capacity that I did. I really am. And as things get like that, get older, I gotta accept the fact that I'm getting older and I'm not gonna be able to do as much stuff. I might either have to play more relaxing games that aren't as control intensive, right? Or I'm gonna have to do other content. This show is part of that other content. The fact that I do a daily talk show every day and I relax with you guys and we talk about these kind of topics is a great thing. Because now I'm known that I do a podcast as well as all my gaming, right? So I have people who watch this show, and a lot of people actually watch this show and not the gameplay. They say as much. I like Phil's podcast. Every day I turn it on when I'm at work or when I'm on my commute or when I'm relaxing at night. I just listen to it, and I get to gel, and you know, it's something I depend on every day. If he doesn't do it, I'm disappointed. That's cool. And I understand? That's good. That diversification is good. As I get older, there will be more diversification. Likely, we're going to get into other heavy talk topics. You know? Things that other YouTubers who were desperate for attention and had absolutely no pertinence or relevance to anything around them anymore, they had to get into politics and religion. They had to run into the controversial topics right away because they're fucking rubes. They have no fucking skills. They have no fucking, you know, anything to offer, so you just have to go right to the controversial drama shit, right? Eventually, one day we'll get there, I feel. Like, we will actually intelligently talk about those kind of topics, and I actually look forward to it. It's just sad that right now we're not at that point. There's so many people who are so divided on those topics that if you try to talk about them, you have to be polarized one way or the other, and if you're not, everyone hates you. And if you're polarized this way, the other side hates you. And if you're polarized this way, this side hates you. And I don't want to do that to my audience. I don't. I think one day we will get there. I feel like one day we'll get there. We'll be able to talk about those topics. I just don't think that we're ready for it yet, or that the internet's really ready for it yet. Once I start seeing more rational thought come back to the fucking internet, instead of it just being this place where everyone attacks each other for bullshit reasons, then I'll consider venturing into those topics. And it may come within the next 5-10 years. We'll see. But for now, I like the fact that I get to play a variety of games, but I also get to do a react show, but I also do a daily podcast. It's called diversification. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, the basket of gaming, right? What if all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you can't play video games on the internet anymore? Well, I have a podcast I do, I have a react show I do, there's other content I can make. If I'm just doing gaming, you know what I'm saying? Then you're doing too much of the same. And by the way, when you do all the same all the time, it gets boring. It does. It gets boring to just do the same thing all day, every day. It gets monotonous. It becomes a grind. I don't want my job to be a grind. I want it to be something fun that I look forward to doing every day. And that's because of diversification. So again, out of these 7,000 reasons why this show makes sense, I can't believe there's still people to this day who think that this podcast shouldn't be made and I should be gaming even more than 5 hours a day. I think that's stupid and ludicrous. But that's my opinion. You can disagree. You have the right to disagree, but please respect my opinions on this and my rationale of why I'm not going to dump the podcast that's actually doing well. There are days, no exaggeration, there are days when all of my attention and support and engagement comes in during this show. And then when I start to play a game, everyone leaves. And I get no support for the rest of the stream. So what the hell are you talking about? Right? Okay, then. Let's continue. Actually, you know what? It's 12:15. So I think this is where we will call it quits for the suggestion box. And we will resume next time. All right, so that was good. Thank you for those suggestions. And we always get good discussion based around it, correct? We do. So thank you for that.
I got the drip going. 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 It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean, these dumb kids. This is what it is. It's dumb kids.